wanted to bring up my perspective on other people and things of that nature, and my beliefs on colors and crybabies and the golden sphere, particularly the ones with mothers of uh, with lighter complexions, not other races specifically, but ones that are lighter, whether they are black or not. I think this dynamic is um, a common interest, a common situation that a lot of people that claim to be basically like colors and crybabies have, as well as those in the golden sphere. You know how I talked about how the colors and crybabies have the same mindset as the people in the light skin movement and the golden sphere. Now, I said some, and I'm still saying some. Obviously, not all of these apply to everyone there. I'm guessing there's probably some that don't even have mothers that are lighter than them. I haven't really paid attention to everyone in there, so that's why I'm putting that out there. But I'm pointing out this because I feel like it's really important. I think a lot of colorism crybabies, will complain about their mothers, for example. Their mothers set a standard of beauty that they could not accomplish, they could not embody. They could never be as light-skinned, as racially ambiguous, as phenotypically, non-black as their mothers. In many cases, colorism crybabies cry about this often and cry about how their mothers treated them because they failed to make that standard. And I think, some parts of colorism crybabies is imitation, but at some point they feel like they fail so much that they get angry, and they cry about it and get all angry, and then they come on here and get all vocal and upset about their phenotype. This is why I say with colorism crybabies, they don't care about dark skin being seen as bad if that's what they really thought. They care about being dark skinned themselves and having it because they were taught it was unattractive, and they were taught the standard of beauty was specifically in line with like someone of their mother's phenotype, or someone who was basically seen as more beautiful. The females in their household, the females in their school, and so forth were lighter than them, basically. You would think, how does this have to do with people in the golden sphere? But if you pay close enough attention, you'll understand. Their perspective often does have to do with surrounding around a mother who is another race, in some cases lighter skinned, more racially ambiguous, and basically, different hair texture, different facial features, and so forth. Many of those in the golden sphere are darker than their mothers, just like colorism crybabies are darker than their mothers. And you can see that imitation is deep in this sector, basically. They constantly want to embody the image of their mothers, but they know they will never fully embody the images of their mother, so they will always fail, just like a colorism crybaby. The only thing that they do that shows, that they feel dissatisfaction is a two-way street. rather than just one-way street for colors and crybabies to get angry at the people they want to be. People in the golden sphere are a bit different in this sense, where, for one, they will try to use the fact that they, in hopes, look more like their mothers, or the phenotype that was seen as the epitome of femininity. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say specifically they want to look like their mothers. I'm saying that's an image that they try to replicate, basically. So they will try to use the fact that they look more similar to that than a dark-skinned woman. And then on top of it, of course, there's a lot of vitriol in those sectors for white women, for women who look further from black than they do. There's a lot of anger there. There's a lot of jealousy. And you can see there's a lot of jealousy within the golden sphere anyway. And, to me, the jealousy and the anger and the discontentment with oneself are all things in common between colorism, crybabies, and the golden sphere to me. Because they both have the same situation where they perceive basically the ideal look to be lighter, to be closer to a whiter phenotype, and for that to be the ideal situation. In one case, I've heard some people say how Hispanic people are ideal, and they were half Hispanic. And it's funny because if you look at Hispanic people often try to imitate white people. So it's kind of like this. I'm using this as an example because look at it. You got dark-skinned people that are colors and crybabies, not all of them, but the ones that are, saying that, lighter-skinned women, maybe someone like Halle Berry or something, or like Rihanna or something, that are just lighter-skinned, are like the ideal phenotype. And then you got people who look like that, basically saying that, the ideal phenotype is more like someone who's like Hispanic. And then you have the Hispanics literally acting like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person is way better than their, brown-haired, brown-eyed, dark-skinned complexion. You get the idea here. Nobody's happy with themselves, really. It's more so just a continuum to whiteness. And whiteness is where, you don't see them actually looking to anyone else because they're at the end of the line. You get what I'm saying? So, to me, with colorism, it's like this. Colorism crybabies suffer from, issues in their family. The idea of ideal femininity in their family. The fact that they feel like they look more masculine, But the golden sphere deals with the same thing. They deal with, not feeling like they're the epitome of femininity. And they feel like they are masculine. They vocalize that they feel they look masculine. If you listen to them, just listen. They literally say that they look masculine because they literally say that black features look masculine. And if you are part black and you have more black features than a white person, then it's safe to say you think you look more masculine than 87% of the population who is not black at all. So, I'm pretty sure that they do feel they look masculine. Now, they beat up on dark-skinned women in hopes to feel better about it, but they still feel bad about themselves. Now, the thing is about this is that, for me, I think having this type of perspective where the mother is lighter, and that is seen as the ideal beauty standard for them, it's, troublesome for a person of color, a woman of color. For me personally, I've always been grateful that I don't have a mother that is lighter than me, but rather darker than me, because it actually set the scene for me a lot better. See, for me, let's just explain it a bit more. I specifically always felt like femininity and the beauty of feminine women was at its highest level, basically, with dark-skinned black women, particularly petite, dark-skinned black women. And for me, that's how I was taught. I would literally see generally darker-skinned women appreciated for their beauty more often, than anything. And, sometimes I notice some other things, but I don't want to talk about that in this video, actually. But, so that was a major thing for me. That was what I considered most beautiful, was like full lips, high cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes, soft round nose. But a lot of the time I feel that, people don't really recognize that people can have a different perspective on this, and they think that everybody thinks lighter is better and darker is basically less than and less attractive. But, it depends on the person, basically, and their opinion, basically. So, the thing is there, for me, is this. When you have a darker skinned mother and you actually see that as the ideal, you also learn your own personal beauty and your own personal ideal phenotype for yourself, because society also tells you that. So for example, and I guess this has to do with me being a brown skinned woman, that's just my luck. But, having people like Beyonce, Halle Berry, Rihanna, you name it, really. Most people in the industry that are very big are usually around my complexion. And that's just generally how it is. I generally would see many brown-skinned black women, light brown-skinned black women, who were, touted in the black community. So, you could also understand that obviously, my phenotype was still very much appreciated. And I can understand my own beauty while understanding dark-skinned women's beauty. If I was to see it the other way, where, my mother was very light-skinned or she was white, then I would understand their beauty. But I wouldn't understand my own. I would always be put beneath them. You know what I mean? Socially, I would be put beneath them, and then from my perspective as a young child, I would be put beneath them. This way, it was kind of like I was put beneath, and then I kind of realized my own value, so then I felt kind of like I was equal. Some would try and say that, someone, Beyonce, Halle Berry, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj's color, they try to say they're kind of light or whatever, and that they are put at a higher level or whatever. From my perspective, I don't see that, obviously. I think we all are beautiful in our own right, basically. But my point is that, I think it's a different concept depending on what your family is, where you come from, basically. And in the case of goldensphere, I feel like they are much different than someone who is a colorism crybaby, and that they both have a situation where they are not as racially ambiguous or as light-skinned or have a straight of hair or whatever the feature may be as their mothers, who they have deemed more attractive than themselves. And so they feel less than. And they both have that issue where they both see themselves as less than their mother's side, the female side that is the epitome of femininity and beauty. And therefore they basically end up taking it out on someone, either the people who are the people they want to look like in the golden sphere situation, someone who is racially ambiguous or white, or in the case of colorism crybaby, someone who is light-skinned. But either way, they both have the same problem.